Hey, Flimsy Lunch Tray here with our traditional Saturday upgrade and commander build video. Today we are going to be looking at the tier 10 premium French battleship, the Bourgogne. You can purchase this battleship in the armory for steel. I don't remember quite the amount of steel, but it's a hefty amount up there with Shikishima. So, as is traditional, when we are talking about a certain class of ships, so we're talking about battleships, we like to discuss, in regard to the ship class, what type of battleship is Bourgogne. Well, I would say Bourgogne is one of those interesting cases. She has good range. She has these 3 turrets with 4 380mm guns in each of them, so you're getting 12 overall. She has a nice long-range horizontal dispersion, but yeah, there's just different things going on with the ship that makes it rather interesting. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, I would say that the Bourgogne plays good at long range, plays good at medium range, and it plays good at close range. My preference with the Bourgogne is to play medium to close range. And when I'm saying close range, I'm kind of talking about brawling. That is a personal preference taste. I just like the speed, agility of the Bourgogne to be able to push in and brawl, but she doesn't have really the armor and survivability to really sustain that. So often I find myself working in that mid-range area, and then I can choose, am I going to go in close range, or do I need to engage and kite away and go long range? Because the Bourgogne is really good at kiting. So yeah, so she, all said and done, she plays best at medium range, in my opinion. And when I say medium range, let's say I'm talking 12 to, let's say, 16 kilometers. That's, in my mind, I kind of think medium range being around that area. If I'm thinking close range, I'm thinking like 8 kilometers or less at that point. So as is traditional, let's go ahead and first look at the armor layout of the Bourgogne. And you're going to see some interesting things here when we're looking at the Bourgogne. Now, I'm going to link LittleWhiteMouse's review of the ship in the description below, as well as yesterday's battle where we featured this ship. So you get a sense with the 14-point build that I have, how she performs, and just some pointers I give. But overall, LittleWhiteMouse says the offense of the Bourgogne is good. Kind of a good thing with the main battery reload booster, but a little bit of a diss with the 380mm guns at tier 10. You're going to be struggling a lot sometimes with that. The defense is bad. That's mostly as a result of the health pool of 74,700. That's one of the smallest health pools among tier 10 battleships. You're looking at more at the tier 9 battleship health pool. Agility is best in class, especially with the speed boost. Her anti-air damage per second range is best. She's up there with the Republic and the Montana. But of course, once you get some HE spam, things begin to change. And then, yeah. So I just want to give you that quick overview on that. So let's go ahead and discuss the armor layout. So when we're looking at Bourgogne, we've got a few things, as LittleWhiteMouse shares, that her defense is bad. It's not great. It's not good. It's bad, to be honest. You have these 32mm forend aft end plating, side plating going across the ship, as well as on the stern. Now, if I remove the exterior, let's see here. I want to get rid of the bow. Yeah, there we go. She's got this armor belt, this 350mm casemate, but if we take away that, so let's go ahead and take away that as well. We don't really need that. We're going to talk about the Citadel. The Citadel is above waterline. You can kind of see how it goes in with turrets. So basically, she's got a pretty long Citadel that goes from the rear turret to the forward turret. if you show broadside in the Bourgogne, you will get punished, especially if there's a battleship looking, and even cruisers like something like the Minotaur, the Neptune, the Worcester. If they decide to load AP and your broadside, Hindenburg, Petropavlovsk, I mean, any cruiser that catches you broadside at these tier 10, tier 9, they're going to punish you just because of this exposed citadel, especially when they aim a waterline. But also when you're at range and you have battleships firing at you and they kind of, let's go like this. They have a shell kind of coming in from a higher altitude. A lot of times it can go through the deck and pin your citadel. When we're talking about the deck of the ship, let me get some of these things back up here. We've also got the 32mm on the deck. She is susceptible to HE spam, so if you find yourself getting spammed by HE, you really want to get out of that situation as soon as possible if you're not able to take out the enemy target. So that's a little bit of a review over her armor scheme. For the Bourgogne, it's not, when you're dealing at tier 10, what goes against the Bourgogne here is that you're dealing with battleships, that have 406mm guns, like Montana. You're getting up to the Yamato, you get into the Shikishima, you got good armor piercing from the Thunder, the Conqueror. We're going to have the Incomparable coming soon into the game, new British tier 10 premium, as I record this as of the start of update 10.6. So there's just a lot of things that begin to work against the Bourgogne when you get to higher tier. When in terms of defense, okay. Her survivability, we talked about that, kind of low in class. Artillery, she's got these four guns, 380mm in a standard turret configuration, 2 on the bow, 1 on the stern. And then she's got a nice secondary thing going on here too. So it kind of looks really similar to Marceau guns, right? Because I'm pretty sure that these are Marceau guns. So she's got 8 of them. 8x2, 127mm, and they have a range of 8.7. So you've got a little bit of secondary action happening there. Same with the 152mm guns. Your main battery firing range is 24.8, so that's actually, it's really nice. I've citadeled cruisers, Yoshinos at range, like at 24 kilometers away. Her AA defense, as in LittleWhiteMouse's review, she's got some of the best AA. She's up there with the Montana, the Republic. It's really great, and you get to see that good continuous damage, good damage by shell explosions, and the firing range of 6 kilometers. Her maneuverability is also really good. She's got a maximum speed of 32 knots, but you put a Sierra Mike flag, you pop the engine boost, you're going to be booking over 38.5 knots roughly. The rudder shift time, 16.6 seconds. So like when you compare that to, let's say, go back to port. Let's say Montana, right? Montana is not known for having good rudder shift time. 22 seconds. Let's compare it to Thunder. Yeah, Thunder's got a better rudder shift time. Yeah, so I guess there's only really 3 tier 10 battleships I have at the moment. So yeah, so you can see it's okay. I mean, the turning circle radius it's okay, but her agility, if you saw yesterday's video, comes in real handy. And you got the concealment, where I have the upgrade and the commander skill of concealment mounted. So with the camouflage, we're at 13.2 kilometers by sea, 9.8 kilometers by air. You got the priority, or I always forget what it's called. Assured detectability range that's just what I'll say for now, 2 kilometers, and then after firing main guns and smoke, 15.4. So actually, I was in a battle the other night where I fired from behind a smoke and I didn't get detected because the enemy ship was 15.6 kilometers away. So I thought that was kind of ironic. Okay, enough of that. Let's get more into the nitty and gritty of the Bourgogne. So when you purchase premium ship, she comes with all the modules, as we've gone over. One thing I do want to say about the main battery is that she's got a pretty reliable HE shell damage volley. When it comes to the main guns of the Bourgogne, I want to talk about this for just a moment. one of the things that she really lacks with these 380mm guns is we're getting a lot of ships in the game now. You know, a good chunk of heavy cruisers, a good chunk of battle cruisers. You know, I'm kind of thinking Alaska, I'm thinking Petropavlovsk, you know, I'm thinking the Riga, and the list kind of goes on. And as sturdy as their the bow plating, the side plating, is that Bourgogne actually begins to really struggle against tanky objects, especially a Kremlin. Like, you're outclassed in defense so much when you go up against a Kremlin, where you're not even going to really be thinking about firing armor piercing unless you have a full broadside of the Kremlin. You're basically going to be using HE. I had a battle, I think the first battle I featured in the Bourgogne was a ranked battle where I did really good damage. I think I took 4 enemy ships with me. But at the end, I was going up against the Kremlin and wasn't going to really win the fight, so I just rammed the Kremlin and took the Kremlin with me at that point. So her guns suffer, so you're really going to be finding yourself switching between high explosive, armor piercing a lot, depending on whether you get a broadside. If you don't have broadside, the HE is really reliable. I get plenty of 10,000 K damage salvos on enemy battleships like Yamato, Grosser Montanas, so on and so forth. So I do want to highlight that fact real quick with her main guns. We talked about the range, we talked about the speed, so let's get down to upgrades. So upgrades, so for the first slot, you see that I have main armaments modification 1. What this does is it does several things. Your risk of your main battery from becoming incapacitated is reduced by -20%. Your main battery survivability is improved by +50%. And your main battery repair time is reduced by -20%. If my memory serves correctly, the guns on the Bourgogne can be a little bit easier to knock out at times. Yeah, you're dealing with 300mm, you know, top is 195, 170. The front is going to be the best, naturally, at 430. So, I mean, when you lose one of these guns, it doesn't really take a big... it hurts your damage per minute. So it makes sense with the Bourgogne just to have the main armaments modification 1. The skill also helps with torpedoes, but you don't have torpedoes on the Bourgogne, so we're going to talk about that. You have auxiliary armaments modification 1. This could be a reasonable option for you to take. It improves the survivability of your secondaries, but also your AA survivability, because the AA defense on the Bourgogne, kind of like go to it real quick. It's going to show us these smaller ones up here. Let's go. You know, you got the 152mm, a dual purpose there, and you've got the dual purpose 127mm on the side. If you take enough HE spam, let's say 2 or 3 Thunder volleys, Conqueror volleys, your AA survivability is going to drop. So if she has one of the best AA defenses within the game, here it just ranks at 95, right? When I look at Montana is at, if the game wants to behave, 96, right? So you can boost the survivability of the secondaries in AA. Myself, I just like trying to keep my main battery in the game. You don't need magazine modification 1. If those of you who've been around long enough know that you have the signal of Juliet Charlie combat signal, which completely eliminates the risk of your ship's magazine detonating. Ideally, if you're in random battles, you're in clan battles, you're in ranked, you want to take that combat signal. Slot 2, you actually have 2 choices I would recommend. You have damage control system modification 1, which you see I have mounted right now. And then you have engine boost modification 1. So you purchase this in Armory, and what that does is it increases the action time of your engine boost, where right now we're at 180 seconds, and I'm going to do the math real quick. Yes, I thought it was that, but I want to make sure. Where you go from 180 seconds to 234 seconds, so basically 4 minutes of engine boost. If I'm being honest, I think I recommend this over the damage control system modification 1. So if I click here to purchase an armory, I think my coupon's just refreshed. So yeah, every month you get this coupon here, which is for upgrades, where it's for coal, where it takes 25% off the cost. So instead of paying 17,000 coal, it drops us to 12,750 coal. So I'm actually just gonna go ahead and purchase that now, so I get to show this with you, because I pretty much use that coupon once a month, and I had used it last month, so I wasn't able to go ahead and put this upgrade on, but now I get to put it on with you guys. So yeah, I'm going to just demount that. We'll keep it. I don't mind spinning low doubloons. And there we go. Now action time of the consumable is improved by 234 seconds. So great stuff. For the slot 3, there's several options you could go with here. It's up to you. You have the main battery modification 2. So what this does is increases the traverse speed of your main turrets by plus 15. Now I have an enhanced main battery to grease the gears. So when we look at the 180-degree turn time, I'm at 33.1 seconds right now. So if I were to take the skill of main battery modification 2, I'm going to shave pretty much almost 5 seconds off of my 180-degree turn time. So that's going to just bring me down just over 28 seconds. Now you can see that I have not gone for that. You have secondary battery modification 1, extends the secondary battery firing range by plus 20%, and also gives you tighter secondary dispersion by negative 20%. You can see that right now, without any signals mounted, that our maximum range is 8.7 kilometers. So if I improved it, well, I think this actually buffs the range. Yeah, so this buffs the secondary battery firing range. So let's just say by plus 15%, because we gotta keep that into account. Times, it's gonna add 1.3 kilometers on. So then you're getting up to 10 kilometer secondary battery firing range. And then if you take the secondary combat signal, Mike Yankee Soccer 6, you're going to see it jumps up now to 9.2 because it's got a little buff on there. Then you have the AA guns modification, so the priority AA sector preparation time. This means you get your AA priority sector fully back up and operational in a reduced amount of time. And then you have aiming systems modification 1. Now, I'm going to link yesterday's video and then Monday's video. I also featured the Bourgogne, and let you decide for yourself. I prefer this skill because I want the maximum dispersion of my main battery shells to be reduced by negative 7%. And you get the little bit of a buff there on the plus 5% of the secondary battery firing range, and negative 5% on the maximum dispersion of your secondary battery shells, meaning they're more accurate. The reason why I like to focus on the dispersion of my main battery shells is that I feel more comfortable and I have a stronger feeling that my shells are going to land where I'm aiming. Now, the vertical dispersion of the Bourgogne, well, I guess it depends on how you look at it, is rather good. When you look at the horizontal dispersion of the Bourgogne with her and how her turret setup is, it's actually pretty wide, but it's all like within the same level. Like, for example, if I drew, let's see here, if I kind of like, I can't draw a line. If you watched Monday's video, you'll know what I'm talking about, and I'll put that in the link description. But it's kind of like, the dispersion is kind of like this line where the shells are going to basically match, like, let's say there's a Yoshino at 24 kilometers away, and you watch your Bourgogne salvo going in at the Yoshino. It's almost the length of, not quite the full length of the Yoshino, but the horizontal dispersion is very wide. That's what I want to say. It's very wide in terms of height. It's the vertical, it's rather tight. So it's like your shells are just like perfectly lined out along the hull of a cruiser battleship you're firing at a distance. Watch Monday's video, you know what I'm talking about. Don't want to try to keep going on explaining that. For slot 4, you have damage control system modification 2, What this does is that it reduces the fire extinguishing time and flooding recovering time by negative 15%. Note how we talked about the defense survivability of the Bourgogne is actually bad. So anything we can do to improve that, in my opinion, is good, especially with the HE spamming meta. And then if you're finding yourself that medium to close range, you're probably going to come across a torpedo or two. So if you can reduce the flooding recovering time, if your damage control party is on cooldown, then this is good. You also have the propulsion modification, which time to reach full engine power when accelerating is reduced by negative 50%. And then you have steering gears modification 1. Your rudder shift time is reduced by negative 20%. You saw that right now we're looking at a 16.6 rudder shift time. So then if we go, you'd be over 3 seconds taken off your rudder shift time, if I'm not mistaken. I'll do the math real quick while we're talking. Yeah, you're going to take 3.32 seconds off. So if we go 16.6 minus 3.32, you're getting down to a 13.28 second rudder shift time. So if you want to further enhance the agility of the ship, you can. For myself, I feel like her agility is pretty good, so I just go with the damage control system modification 2. And since her survivability and defense is pretty low, I want to focus, for myself, I want to focus on her concealment and getting her concealment down. With the max concealment, as we talked about towards the start, we have it at 13.2 kilometers right now. When we look at slot 6, you have 3 choices. You have the main battery modification 3. So your main battery reload time is negative 12%. So that's something I don't think I mentioned. Our reload time right now is 24.6 seconds with this module on. I think without it, you're over 26 seconds. Yeah, you're over 26 seconds, I believe. But it comes at a cost where your main battery traverse speed is nerfed by negative 13%. You also can extend the firing range of your main battery by plus 16%. To be honest, I think 24.8 kilometers is just fine. If you are wanting to have 26, 27, 28 kilometer range in your Bourgogne, you want to fight from that battle or from that range, I'd be kind of questioning why. Most times I'm always trying to get underneath that 20 kilometer range in the Bourgogne. The gunfire or auxiliary armaments modification 2. This improves your secondary battery reload time. It improves your continuous AA damage by plus 15%. It improves your damage from AA shell explosions by plus 15%. And it also increases the number of explosions produced by salvos from your AA defenses with the defensive AA fire consumable is active, which we don't have that. So you're getting a pretty big buff to your AA defense. So yeah, 398 for the continuous damage, 1,680 for damage by shell explosions. So I'm kind of curious to see what that looks like. Let me do the math real quick. So we go 398, since the Bourgogne's AA defense is it's really good already. 398 plus or times the 15, 0.15. So 59.7 plus the 398. So now our continuous AA damage has jumped from 398 to 457.7. And then our damage by AA shell explosions, that's 1,680. And then times the 15. If I have to retype that again, I did it wrong. Times 0.15. Adds 252, so 252 plus that 1,680. Now you're at 1,932 for damage by AA shell explosions alone. So you can have a pretty beefy AA defense. Now that doesn't even, again, include your AA signal. So you have a combat signal, which also enhances your continuous AA damage and damage from AA shell explosions. And we haven't even gotten to the commander build yet, where there's AA skills there. So I always take this signal into battle. Now watch how it beefs up the continuous damage and damage by shell explosions. Yeah, now we're not 398, we're 417. We're not 1,680, we're 1,764. So we took a leap there. So I think that covers the equipment for myself. I just like having a faster main battery reload time and increase my damage per minute. This would be the least I would recommend. If you want to have more AA and a little bit of a faster secondary reload time, yeah, you could go for Auxiliary Armaments Modification 2 if you want a little bit more of an AA build from your upgrades for the Bourgogne. So let's talk about the commander. We've been talking for quite some time now. So the following I'm going to recommend is my build for a 10-point commander. And the 10th point, it can be really up to you. It goes between two things. So the first is 1-point commander. I recommend your preventive maintenance defense skill. It reduces risk of your main turrets, your steering gears, and your engine from becoming incapacitated by negative 30%. I do have my turret knocked out from time to time, but you guys have seen that I've built up to keep my main battery in game between the upgrades and then here preventive maintenance. So yeah, this has been nice. I've noticed how this has helped keep my turrets more in the action for longer. For a 3-point commander, I'd recommend Grease the Gears. Something I do need to say is I have an enhanced commander on the Bourgogne. I have, if I can say his name right, Charles Henry Honore. Yeah, I'm going to say I didn't get the last one right. Maybe I didn't even get the second one right. And you can purchase him in the armory for 10, or he's got 10 points when you buy him. You can buy him for 35,000 coal, and then there might be a duplicate option for doubloons. Let's just look real quick. I bought him as soon as I bought the Bourgogne because I wanted the enhanced turret traverse. French. Maybe there's just one, then you've got Dasha. So yes, I purchased him for 1,500 doubloons. And the star here shows that he has enhanced skills. So any commander here that doesn't have enhanced skills, or doesn't have the star, doesn't mean they have enhanced skills. So I recommend buying a commander from the armory to go with the Bourgogne. You also have, for 175,000 coal, you have Philippe Albunea. I'm so sorry if there's French speakers watching this. I just totally butchered that, as you know. But he has some really cool stuff, but we're not going to get into that. Just know that he's there if you're curious. So for 1,500 doubloons, I get this guy. He gives me the enhanced Grease the Gears, where my main battery traverse speed is improved by plus 25%. A standard unenhanced commander has plus 20%. So I want the faster turret traverse. It kind of makes up for taking it helps make up for taking the main battery modification 3, where you get that nerf on your main battery traverse speed. So that's kind of my balance and reasoning when I take that skill. Thirdly, I'm going to recommend Adrenaline Rush. Now, if you notice on our commander, we have the other enhanced skill. You get 2 enhanced skills on a commander, on an enhanced commander. We have an enhanced Adrenaline Rush. So what an Adrenaline Rush does is that it enhances the ship parameters for each 1% of HP lost. So our main battery reload time, our torpedo reload tube time, which we don't have torpedo tubes on Bourgogne, our secondary battery reload time, our continuous AA damage is improved. As we take more damage, as we lose more health, our main battery is reloading faster, our secondary battery is reloading faster, and our continuous AA damage is going up. But usually that means if you've taken damage, it's probably you've lost some AA, so maybe it helps kind of keep your AA more in the game per se. So definitely recommend. When you get to 10-point commander, there's 2 ways you could go. You could either go with Concealment Expert, or you could go with Fire Prevention. Both of these are good skills. When we're talking about, again, the defense of the Bourgogne, it's not so great. I myself, for a 10-point commander, I went with Concealment Expert first, and I played a lot of battles in Bourgogne. I used this commander also on my Marceau presently, so I got him up to a 14-point commander relatively quickly, and then I immediately took Fire Prevention. So I think sometimes there's some confusion when it comes to what fire prevention is. I'm going to briefly talk about that, hopefully in less than a minute. What this skill does is that the maximum number of fires on a ship is reduced to 3, so the risk of catching fire is also reduced by -10%. That's very good. And then maximum number of fires is by -1. So those of you who may be wondering, maybe you're newer to World of Warships. Okay, so instead of having 4 fires, I'll only have max of 3. Well, I usually only ever get 2 or 3 fires. I don't hardly ever get 4 fires, where it's the positioning of where these fires happen. So without fire prevention on a battleship, you'll get a fire on your bow, you get a fire on your stern, you'll get a fire in the forward part of your superstructure, and you'll get a fire in the rear part of your superstructure. What fire prevention does is the 2 fires that you have in your superstructure are combined into 1. So you only get 1 fire on your superstructure, then 1 on the bow and 1 on the stern. So a max of 3 fires. And this is really good to have because it means that you're going to take less damage from fire burning on your ship. So fire prevention is a must really for any battleship, and that's especially in the case of the Bourgogne, because as we talked about, that deck plating isn't the strongest and susceptible to HE spam. Now, so that's a 14-point commander. You can see I'm at a 15-point commander right now. We're on the verge of breaking into a 16-point commander. Been playing this commander a lot to try to get him up to 21 point, but that's going to take a while. Thank you, Wargaming, from increasing it from 19 to 21. So what would I recommend taking next? Well, for myself, if you saw yesterday's battle, the Limit Breaker and Grand Battles, you saw that I used all of my healths. Something I didn't talk about in terms of consumables is your repair party. So right now I get 4 of them. If I take that skill, I'll get an additional heal. And I used all 4 heals. Part of that is it's part of my playing style in the Bourgogne. But a 5th heal adds some extra insurance as you take damage, and because the Bourgogne is susceptible to HE spam relatively easy. So for myself, at this point in time, I plan to take the Emergency Repair Expert. Now, it's not only we get an additional heal. If you have a Russian battleship, you get Russian battleship, or the new German battleships actually too. You also you get this additional damage control party consumable because on those ships they're numbered, but they're like enhanced. They reload. They're back online quicker. But what that does is, so the action time of the damage control party is extended by plus 10%. So that means I pop my damage control party. I'm putting out 2 fires as an example. It's going to run for an extra 10% longer. So right now it runs for 15 seconds. So an extra 10% means additional 1.5 seconds. So now for 16.5 seconds, my damage control party is going to run. So that might mean you don't get set on fire as quickly. The other thing that this does really well is the repair party consumable action time is increased by 10%, which means you're going to heal back more damage. So right now, the action time of the consumable is 28 seconds. When we take that skill, we go from 28 seconds to 30.8 seconds, plus 10%. So that means our heal isn't going to, I think, a heal with the flag. Again, combat signal. It's this guy right here, India Delta. Amount of HP recovered when the repair party consumable is activated. Amount of HP that can be restored within the help of the squadron's repair consumable. That doesn't matter. But now you get to see that our HP per second went up from it was over 300. Now it's up to over 448. And so that means with the commander skill of the Emergency Repair Expert, we're going to heal back more damage. With the India Delta flag, I think it's like 12,544 is the max damage you can heal back when you use a heal. But you use this, you're going to heal back more damage. So that's really good when it comes to the survivability of Bourgogne. So that's why I recommend once you reach an 18-point commander to take Emergency Repair Expert. Now, So 18 points. So 19, 20, 21. We have 3 points left. So this is how things shift. So we only have a few options left. What would I recommend for you taking? Well, that is a good question. And I think at this point, I would say it's up to you. I will tell you what I'm thinking about doing. Let me put it that way. So let's take a look here. You have basics of survivability, and that is a really good defense skill. So that means we're going to help try to make up for the bad defense of the Bourgogne. What this does is your modular restoration time is reduced by -15%, and then your fire extinguishing time and your flooding recovery time is also reduced by -15%. So that's actually pretty good when we look at that. So that means our fires aren't going to burn for long and our floods aren't going to flood for long. So this is actually a really good skill. I'm just going to talk about what skills I think would be good to use with your last 3 points. So I like that a lot. It's quite nice. You also have the long-range secondary battery shells. So let's say maybe you want to get more out of your secondaries. Well, when we look at the secondaries, I have the flag mounted. Remember, we were at 8.7, now we're 9.2. You take this. Now I'm at 11 kilometer secondary battery firing range for the Bourgogne. If you want to do this, you can. I don't know if I'm going to do this. The French secondaries are pretty decent. Now with Wargaming's announcement to rework of the commander skills, try to follow that. You had the rework of 0.10.0 where they totally messed up the secondaries. They went from being really accurate to pretty crappy. And then now they're going to buff them ? Again in a really weird way. You can read more about that from Wargaming with what I think 10.7 is when those they're going to change some things when it comes to secondary accuracy, and that actually is the improved secondary battery aiming I'm talking about. Because you could do this. I don't recommend it, but they're going to change the improved secondary battery aiming. They're going to give it a buff ? So yeah, but you get longer range in terms of accuracy. If you just take this, it's not so great. You're not going to be landing a lot of your secondary shells with this alone, unless you gave up your third slot of your aiming system modification 1 and went with secondary battery modification 1, because you get an even tighter secondary dispersion. So if you really wanted to make a secondary build out of your Bourgogne, you're going to need this. Like it's not a question, you're going to need it to actually make them more helpful. You also have the priority target. Over time, I've been doing better with this, not having this. It used to be 1 point skill before the commander rework. You get like the number indicator. So if there's like 3 ships aiming at me, like right now, I wouldn't know if 3 ships are aiming at me. But if I master this skill, I get a little target icon that says 3 ships are targeting your ship. So that means, oh, maybe I need to go dark. Maybe I need to be agile. But what I do right now is basically I'm just kind of, after I fire a salvo, I'm looking around at the other enemy cruisers if I can see them, or battleships, trying to figure out where their guns are pointing, and I go from there. This guy would be pretty fun. So when we look at the AA defense, you've got this AA gunner, so our continuous AA damage goes up by 10%, and our damage from AA shell explosions go up by 10%. So if I click on this bad boy, we have the signal mounted right now, right? Now I'm at 459 continuous AA damage, and then I'm at damage by shell explosions 1,940, and that's even without the upgrade I was highlighting. So now our AA defense in the Bourgogne is really, really, really good. I mean, it's already really good. Now it's really, really good. So if you don't like messing with planes, you just hate planes, Wargaming is giving us more planes. Don't ask me why. No players were asking for it. You can take AA Gunner. This is a good skill. So then if you took that, then that means you'd only have 1 point left. Where would I recommend you to put that 1 point at? Well, I did talk about how you often find yourself switching between armor piercing and HE. So you could take gun feeder, which the time taken to switch between shell type is reduced by -50%. Myself, because the HE is pretty decent, I don't tend to take this. If I want to switch between shell type, if you watched yesterday's video again, we had a broadside, what we public, after we took out the enemy lion, and then I just activated the main battery reload booster, and I switched to AP, and that's how that's in my mind. That's how I get to use that. You could take incoming fire alert. So instead of priority target, because we don't have any points left, if you like to know when ships are shooting at you, what this does is it gives an incoming alert, the center right part of your screen, or a ship that fires at you from a distance of more than 4.5 kilometers. It'll get a little incoming, and so then you know to try to be agile and dodge. So honestly, I would probably recommend that one the most. And then secondly, that. If you wanted to go with AA Gunner. So let's talk about the builds I've just referenced here. Let's see. We referenced 4 possible setups. We've talked about the basics of survivability. You could extend your secondaries. You could beef up your AA and have incoming fire alert, or possibly gun feeder. I would say really those are the 4 ways I would go. Now, in terms of Flimsy, which one are you going to take? Well, to be honest, I'm a little torn, and I'll tell you what 2 I am torn between. I am torn between taking basics of survivability, because that just looks really attractive to me, just given the state that the Bourgogne is, where her defense is really poor. So if I get to improve that anymore, honestly, I really want to go for that. But at the same time, I'm kind of like leaning towards the AA Gunner. I want to be a troll with my AA. I love shooting down planes. I love killing enemy carriers. It's one of my favorite things to do in World of Warships. So, you saw in yesterday's video, we also went up against an FDR. I think we took down, was it between 10 and 13 planes? Something like that. And so having this skill means I would have blown some more planes out of the sky, even though FDR planes are already ridiculously OP when it comes to their health. So, there's a side of me who wants to go this way, but then there's like the more reasonable side of me per se that wants to go with this. If I'm being honest right now, this is probably the build I'm going to take. And then at a later date, maybe I'm having fun and I'm like, hey, you know what I want to do? I want to test out a more of an AA setup on the Bourgogne. I still have more experience that I need to acquire in playing the ship. So then at a later date, I might test this out. So I would recommend going for basic survivability or AA Gunner and incoming fire alert. Secondaries is totally your choice. I think there are other ships in the game that do a better job, like the German battleships, like the Georgia, the Massachusetts, what's the tier 10 one? Ohio. There's other ships in the game that do secondaries better, per se, than I would say than the French battleships do. That's just my opinion. So, I think we're going to wrap the video up there because we've already gone over 40 minutes. If you've watched the whole thing, I appreciate you hanging around through all of it. As I said, I'm going to link LittleWhiteMouse's review of the Bourgogne in the description below. You can read her full analysis. It's fantastic. She does a really great job. She's an NA community contributor. And then I'll link some videos of me in Bourgogne where you get to see a 14-point build in action. as well. So if you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. And if you have already subscribed, I really appreciate it, as we passed 250 subscribers, which is really awesome. And I'm very appreciative to you guys and gals. So until next time, take care.